D, wait for it, delightful.
Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma. What's up, nerds? So we're gonna jump into this article that the Hollywood Reporter put out. Gosh, what is the name of the magazine that put it out first? They mentioned it in this article, but it was the Forbes. Or no, the Wall Street Journal. They put out an article, but that you have to put is behind a paywall. So I'm just going to go off this article. So I'm being joined with a Speed Force Spector. He and I do collaborations plenty of times, and he wanted to jump on this and give his opinion. How you doing today, Speed Force?
I'm doing good. How about you?
It's snowing still here where I live, so I'm not happy about it, but I'm like, whatever. Let's dive into this article real quick. So the Hollywood Reporter put out this article last night, and it says Viacom, CBS, and Warner Media exploring sale of the CW. When I saw that title, I was like, ooh, let's check this out. And it says, in a memo to staff Thursday, CW chief Mark Pedowitz confirmed that the network is on the block, adding that it is too early to speculate what might happen. Let me get a nice picture of Jared Padalecki and Walker. You ever seen that show, Walker?
I haven't, but I want to tune in.
Right on. Then it says the CW is up for sale. The broadcast network, home to shows like Batwoman and Walker. I can't believe they mentioned Batwoman. Worst advertisement. Is being shopped by its corporate owners, Viacom, CBS, and Warner Media. Multiple sources confirmed to the Hollywood Reporter. And then it says right here, the Wall Street Journal, which first reported the news, says that local TV giant Nexstar is among the potential suitors. Nexstar, which owns 199 local TV stations, as well as the cable channel News Nation and The Hill, is one of the largest owners of the CW stations. It isn't immediately clear whether Viacom, CBS, and Warner Media plan to sell the entire network or retain minority stakes. Now, just going off of this, what we've read so far, do you think they should, if they do sell, should sell off the whole network, or do you think they should retain some of their property on that?
They need to retain some of their property on that because there's a lot of shows that do help that network get in ratings, even if a lot of those shows, like, for example, The Flash, it's an up and down waves of ratings, but most of those shows do keep them decently afloat for prime time.
Right on.
And that's the most important thing is depending on, I don't know how it works in other regions, but in my region, the CW is only a name up until prime time. And that's where they get all of their shows up until 10 o'clock.
Right on. Okay. So then it says, the new, by the way, I agree with you. They should keep some of their stuff in there. They should always have a stake in the game. All right. So news of the possible sale arrives as the network, a joint venture between CBS and Warner Media, has never been profitable since its formation in 2006, when the two companies merged the former UPN and the WB network, which I thought was very interesting. I don't know how you feel about it, but I was all like, man, they haven't turned a profit in what is that? On 8 years. I'm just
for me, that doesn't surprise me. And the reason why I say that is because around 2006, this was around the time the CW/the WB was moving to another network, which it moved over to CW or whatever network channel name it is, because it's different among regions. And the problem with that was the CW wanted to get rid of most of their programming, or they wanted to cancel some of them, or they wanted a brand new look. However, that caused a lot of problems as they started to not understand their identity as well. A lot of their new shows started to move around. Some of them got canceled. Some of them ended before you even knew it. Up until, I would say, the 2010s is when they started to understand and have a good feel for what they wanted to do. Maybe even 2009, 2007. At the same time, they did keep over some of their WB shows to keep them still afloat. So things like Supernatural and other things like that still remained on the network. So nothing too much changed. At the same time, there was also the writer's strike. That
Right.
hurt that network so much during that. So there was a lot of problems during that time. So I'm not too shocked about that news. So I would say not too shocked, but there was a lot more problems going on than just they weren't like it wasn't turning a profit. It was just mostly because of everything going on at the time.
Right on. And it says much of the revenue that is generated from the younger skewing network is generated from international and streaming sales for such scripted originals as The Flash and Dynasty, which that's totally true. I know people, well, from Twitter that live in Europe, and it's like some of the shows they can only get through Netflix because
Yeah.
which is, and then so it says the CW previously had a long-standing output deal with Netflix that helped series like Riverdale and All American reach broader audiences and ultimately grow on linear. That pact ended in 2019 as Warner Brothers TV and CBS Studios shifted library deals to their respective streamers, HBO Max and Paramount Plus. Which again, I'm not 100% sure that was the best idea because I do know people.
Don't think it was the best idea.
Yeah, because like I said before,
mostly for their later library.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, Nancy Drew is pretty much on par with Riverdale. That would have looked good on Netflix.
Right on.
And
yeah.
You had
go ahead.
I can't think of other shows, but they would have made Netflix a lot of good revenue, especially in the US.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I said, I know some people that live internationally and they didn't have HBO Max when it launched. So it's like you're moving that stuff over to HBO Max and people can't even get it. It's the same thing with for instance Star Trek Discovery. They put that on Paramount Plus and then they put out their fourth season and people overseas couldn't get it. They couldn't watch that show and I'm all like, "Oh, you guys are shooting yourself in the foot.
Exactly.
What are you doing here?" Also impacting the profit margins on originals is the fact that the foreign sales have almost entirely ended as CBS Studios and Warner's look to retain those rights for their respective streamers. The end of the Netflix output deal and loss of revenue from foreign sales created a larger concern for the studios that previously generated revenue not from linear, but from Netflix and international sales. Again, me and you just touched on that. It was a bad decision. It was such a bad decision. Like that was probably their worst decision. The CW under CEO Mark Pedowitz, who ranks as the longest tenure broadcast topper, targets viewers 18 to 34 and offers originals for free on its website, the CW Seed, which I usually watch.
I use that app sometimes too.
Yeah, that's where I usually watch stuff because I don't record it on my TV, and so I have to go to the website to watch shows because I'm like I don't have it, and that the next day it's on there, so I'm like, So it says, the network was originally designed to feature programming supplied 50-50 by Warner Brothers and CBS Studios. Thanks in part to the success of Greg Berlanti's DC Comics universe of shows, which I want to talk about in a minute, including The Flash, Superman and Lois, Batwoman, The Flash, and Legends of Tomorrow. I love how they mentioned The Flash twice there. Among others, Warner's has been the primary supplier of content on the network. CBS Studios supplies scripted fare, including Dynasty, TV's lowest rated original, and Charmed, while other originals that are not based on either DC or CBS IP are co-productions between both studios. Now, if they sell, let's just pretend, it makes me wonder what's going to happen to these DC shows. A small piece of me is not going to be upset about some of these shows going away, aka Batwoman, aka Legends of Tomorrow. But I like Superman and Lois. I really love that show. So
that and Stargirl, those shows are pretty much saved because they're HBO Max originals. So
that's a good point.
They just air on the CW. In terms of like the other shows, because we talked about the Netflix deal and everything, the only show still running on Netflix and CW are both The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow. If I might be missing out one, but all of them pretty much. all of
Go
them
ahead.
pretty much ended,
Hmm.
and their bag's secure through Netflix keeping hold of those seasons. But like those other shows, like they kind of like for Flash and everything else, they need a way to get the audience that they've been keeping for X amount of years, because if they move it to like say HBO Max, that show's dead on sight pretty much to me.
Gotcha. All right, let me and then I do want to talk a little bit more about that in terms of them selling it in just 1 second. Okay. In a memo to staff Thursday, Pedowitz confirmed that the network is on the block, adding that it is too early to speculate what might happen. First, as many of you are aware, over the past year or so, this transformative time in our industry has led to a series of business activity across media and content companies, he wrote. Given that environment right now, Viacom CBS and Warner Brothers are exploring strategic opportunities to optimize the value of their joint venture in the CW network. So what does this mean for us right now? It means we must continue to do what it means. Some of you are going to lose your job. Sorry about that. It means we must continue to do what we do best, make the CW as successful and vibrant as we have always done. Is it really successful if you're not making a profit, though? I mean, anyways, okay.
I'll get into that in a few minutes.
Okay. He added, we have a lot of work ahead of us with more original programming than ever. This season's expansion to Saturday night, our growing digital and streaming platforms, and we thrive when we come together and build the CW together. Multiple industry insiders have speculated in recent years that Viacom CBS would divest its stake in the CW as its output on the network declined. News that the Warner Media, ahead of its Discovery takeover, would look to sell its stake or become a passive partner in the CW would be a surprise given how much of the network the Channing Dungey-led studio programs, which I don't know what that is, and I was going to look it up before this, but I was like, you know what? It's fine. And then let me finish this last part and then we'll discuss. Reps from Warner Media and Viacom CBS did not immediately respond to Hollywood Reporter's request for a comment. A spokesperson for Nexstar declined to comment. And then it says you can read Pedelecki's or Pedowitz's full memo right here, which I will leave up while we discuss. I just have to say, playing devil's, I do not think selling it is the best thing, but at the same time I just go, maybe it's better to just destroy it completely or sell it off and get rid of it, because maybe they'll finally stop making constant drivel after drivel. I look at it like, okay, Arrow started out so strong, I used to love that show, and then it just went downhill after a while.
I agree.
Same thing with The Flash. I used to love The Flash, and now I can barely watch an episode.
I still tune in, and as I've talked about before, it's a roller coaster. Sometimes they can make a banger, sometimes an okay, but sometimes it's nah, fam,
Yes.
this ain't it.
We did a video on that, by the way, guys. You can check that out in the iCard section. I'll leave that up right now. I just go, if you're not making a profit, and you can tell on these shows, and I'm using the DC shows because I don't watch Charmed or Dynasty or anything like that. But if you're not making profit and your budget for these shows is going down and you can tell, I just go, what's the point after this point? I mean, you're just a sinking ship. And I don't know. And they're making bad decisions. They sold off, rights for Netflix for international stuff. And I'm just like, for instance, I'm going to bring up Star Trek Discovery. So I just think that if it's not profitable and your shows don't look good, I don't know if it's worth it. But at the same time, I don't think selling it off is and obviously they're not making the wisest decisions over here at Viacom and Warner Media. What are your thoughts on it?
Okay, so I think that they should make a deal with that TriStar or whatever it's called. So far,
Nexstar.
Nexstar, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you brought up, that news network stuff, and that does scare me a bit for their future. Because that mostly sounds like they're trying to be the next My Network TV, And when they lost the rights to WB or slash CW,
Right.
that network became a tanking ship.
For
it's
sure.
mostly judge shows, whatever acquired TV show they can have, like Seinfeld, and they just got lucky with having like NBC News, Entertainment Tonight, and some other entertainment show close to that. I forgot the name, but it does sound like they could end up a sinking ship. However, if they keep hold of some CW shows, I think they might be in a little bit of a better position. But because I don't have cable, this isn't a good look for CW.
Right.
Because if they get rid of it, that means they completely lost their teenager and young adult audience.
Right.
And in terms of network TV, you're lucky if a show like Grey's Anatomy can reach a teen and young adult audience. Same with NBC.
Oh, yeah.
You would be really lucky if you get that. At the same time, a good example, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist.
Mm-hmm.
It was a pro and a con. Pro because it was pretty much a young adult show that had adult things in it. At the same time, it was a musical. On one hand, a person like me would go, "Hey, I really like that Shawn Mendes cover they did." But someone older will be like, "What's a Shawn Mendes? I know that True Color song. I know that one,
What's the
but I don't
Shawn?
understand anything else." So network TV, in terms of like the big networks, they haven't had a good grasp on having that teen and young adult audience, where CW has managed to do that. Whether or not it's a hit or a miss, that's really important in terms of demographic wise, that it stays just for that purpose. Because in terms of like non-cable television, you're not going to get teenage programming or young adult programming like the CW anywhere else.
Right on. Yeah, no, yeah, it's a lot to think about. And it will be interesting to see where they go from here.
Right. And at the same time, because I brought up my network TV, if CW becomes that, there's kind of even no point in even keeping that network alive, because
right
it'll just be surviving on life support pretty much, and
pretty much
gonna air. It's only going to be good for when hurricanes happen and probably election season, and that's it.
Right on. All right, you guys. Well, that is our thoughts on this CBS or Viacom CBS and Warner Brothers possibly selling, or probably, so I don't know, selling off the CW. Tell us, what do you guys think about this? Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think this is a bad idea? Do you think that Viacom and CBS and Warner Brothers or Warner Media has made bad decision after bad decision? Or do you think, they have made good decisions? You can tell us what you think and leave all your comments in that section down below. If you like this video, go and hit that like button. I won't mind. Speedy, you won't mind?
I wouldn't mind.
Right on. And if you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. And we will see you guys on the next video. You guys have a good day. Bye.